Sorry, I'm late. No, thanks for coming. It's good to meet you.
So first of all, can you tell me about yourself, please?
Well, my name's Harry, 18 years old. Currently doing my A-levels at the moment. I'm doing pretty well, actually. And I'd like to be a doctor when I'm older. Yeah.
First impressions definitely count, 100%. Interviewers can sometimes make their decision and mind up on the person that they're interviewing within the first few minutes. So even if you are nervous or not feeling so confident, make sure that your first impression does really count. Have a firm handshake, good eye contact and smile.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, my name's Harry. I'm 18 years old and I'm currently studying biology, chemistry and maths at school. And as you are aware, I hope to pursue a career in medicine.
Anyone who's called for interview has obviously got to plan their journey, particularly if they're coming from the Channel Islands, to make certain that they're going to be in there in time. So if it's in the morning, that they fly over the night before, so they arrive on time, they have time to settle down, be prepared, they dress appropriately. That particularly for some of the professional courses, which is the majority of our courses that interview, somebody only has to walk in wearing completely wrong clothing and they'll have made the worst impression.
So why do you want to be a doctor and what would you like to achieve in medicine?
Oh, well, everyone in my family is a doctor, so I think it just follows on nicely that I am too, really. I think I'd be a great doctor, to be honest. Got great people skills.
Be confident, but try not to come across as if you're arrogant and a know-it-all. It is a fine balance because you have got to sell yourself, but you want to show that you're a team player and that you're going to fit in well and that you are teachable.
Yeah, I'd also like to be a director, have a nice big salary for myself.
Okay, thank you.
People that are interviewing you want to see that you're committed to the subject, that you've got a passion for the subject, and that's the reason why you're wanting to devote yourself to this period of extended study. They wouldn't want to place someone who's doing it purely for money.
And why do you want to be a doctor and what do you hope to achieve in medicine?
Well, I've done a lot of work experience in many different areas. For example, the local hospital radio. I've done some volunteering on the wards there. And also at the Jersey Hospice and the Cheshire Homes. And everything I did there, I saw patients in their environment and the doctors working alongside them in the multidisciplinary team that they have. And it was absolutely fascinating, and everything I did there just really made me want to continue my research and be successful in getting a place at medical school.
When we see a CV, if somebody has work experience, even if it's volunteering or it's free, then it certainly goes a long way for us to look at the CV a little bit harder.
We're really looking for a student who has undertaken work experience, not just so they're just ticking a box to show us they've done it, but they can really demonstrate to us what they've learnt, what they've gained, how they've reflected on their experiences, and it's given them an insight into that profession.
So apart from treating patients, Harry, what do you think being a doctor is going to entail?
Well, it's a lot of paperwork, obviously. Not really looking forward to that at all, to be honest. I think it's a bit of a faff. But yeah, there is a bedside manner part as well, I suppose. Yeah, you've got to be able to talk.
Worst thing that we've seen at interview is negative language. The right attitude is key. We're looking for somebody who's enthusiastic, who's positive, who's willing to learn, who's got the, who can prove they've got the good organisational skills, the good communication skills.
Well, obviously the treatment is a very important part, but alongside that, you also need to be very academic. And very studious to keep up to date with the constantly changing and evolving field that you are in. You also have to be an excellent communicator with your team and also with the patients.
If a student's very clever when they're actually writing their personal statement, they could be scripting their own interview. Most of the questions they're going to be asked, particularly initially, are going to be based around information they've put in that statement. So if someone is unable to actually expand on questions, there's going to be real concerns that did they really undertake that experience?
What steps have you taken to really find out that you want to be a doctor?
I've done a lot of work experience and volunteer work. Yeah.
Vague answers are the same as no answer, really. You're not giving anything. The interviewer's spending time to understand you, your motivations. They want to get to to know you better and therefore see what your potential is. If you just give a vague answer, it's very difficult for them to make that judgment.
It's really important to expand on your answers. The interview is the time to sell yourself, really.
Okay, Harry, moving on to more of an ethical question. Do you think NHS doctors and staff should be looking after private patients?
I'm not really sure, actually. Don't know. Maybe, yeah.
It's really important to understand what's going on in the world because it impacts how every organisation is doing. It's actually a question that I specifically ask at the end of every interview is about what a candidate has recently read that's interested them about financial services. So it's really important, even if it's from something that you've read in a fashion magazine or that you've seen on a website, really important to know what's going on out there.
Yeah, I'd expect somebody to be aware of their environment, to understand and know what's going on. I wouldn't necessarily ask for a sort of political persuasion or anything like that, but a general understanding of what's going on within the community, within their environment. I think that's important.
Do you think NHS doctors and staff should be treating private patients?
Well, it's a very hotly debated topic. Is it right for private patients to have priority over the NHS patients who are not paying? That's something which needs to be thought about a little bit. At current, it seems that the overall consensus is that yes, they are allowed to have precedence over the non-paying patients. But however, the NHS will benefit from this as they will receive the extra costs of the private patients have to pick up there.
We're always looking for whole people. We don't assess the answers that we're getting on more general questions, but it's important for people to show that they are interested, that they have got a general level of awareness of what's happening in the world.
Can you perhaps tell me about some significant advances you've read about in science or in medicine?
Well, it's been a lot really, isn't it? Lots of stuff, read every day in the papers. Yeah.
It allows us to get a flavour of them as a person. So what is it that makes them tick? What are they really interested in?
I recently have read a study on a cancer drug named cetuximab, which is a really interesting thing, just the action of it on the body. However, it's been found that tumours actually become resistant towards cetuximab, and that's a very interesting field of research in oncology, which has really interested me recently.
Can you give an example of a situation where you've supported a friend in difficult circumstances and what issues they faced and how you helped them?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Oh, sure.
If you don't understand the question that somebody's asked you, it's really silly to try and answer it, not knowing what they're looking for. It's much better to ask them to rephrase or to ask the question again in a different way. Similarly, if someone asks you a really tricky question, they might not be expecting an immediate answer. So do take a moment to think about it and construct your answer. It'll make you a much more confident and strong candidate.
Okay, have you got any questions for us?
No, I don't think so, no.
For me, that shows a level of disinterest. When you're preparing for the interview, you could select questions at that point, but also there's general questions that you could ask at the end of any interview. And a really good one that I always think is, do you have any reservations about me at this point? Because it gives you the opportunity to answer anything that they may be thinking.
It is important to ask questions. This really is your last chance to impress, and it shows that you've prepared for your interview, even if it is just one question.
So I was just wondering, do you encourage students to take rotations abroad?
The biggest thing to stand out from the crowd is to be yourself, because everybody is different. So if you go in and show your own personality and just relax into an interview, then that's how you'll stand out.
If you're prepared, you can anticipate some of the questions that are going to be asked, and you can display confidence in your answers and give a breadth of experience, then it shouldn't be a daunting, necessarily that overly daunting experience, but it's all about the preparation.